So we're coming on another new moon, Capricorn, in the darkest time of the year here in the northern hemisphere. The sun only goes to a certain height this time of year. It's pretty low on the horizon, even at the peak of the sunrise, which is 6 hours after, approximately 6 hours after it rises. It'll be at peak height, which is still very low. And so everything responds to this low, and it's in the southern hemisphere, blasting people right now in the summer. So the northern hemisphere isn't getting as much light. So there isn't as much activity, even though, like here in Northern California, we've been getting a lot of sun in between these crazy rainstorms. But it's still not enough to really be like spring when it's closer and higher. So we're experiencing the kind of underworld dark experience, and it's good to work with the dark during this time of year and not just push ahead to, what the new things you want to do and this and that. It's really about cultivating underneath the surface. So, like the plants, there is some outward growth, but mostly things are kind of stirring underneath the surface and preparing for that time for when the light is in Aries, and it will be much closer and much stronger, and it will have the effect on the earth as it does in our bodies. So be aware of not pushing yourself to do new things because of the Gregorian New Year is not necessarily the astrological New Year. I consider it, and at the time when we get into the spring, as the new year for me, because it doesn't feel, it still feels like time for rest and time for being around the fire and re kind of reevaluating everything that's happened through the year and what do you want to create, going into the next season when their momentum will be there of the sun. Now, this is a style of moving through the year that ancient cultures used. And my culture, Scottish, Irish culture, uses this. And it recognizes that there's these 8 sections of the year that have different energies. And if you stop and acknowledge them and do a ceremony, or it kind of puts you into the flow of that energy. So, and they say it's not a time for magic. It's actually a time just to cultivate underneath the surface. So that is a part of this time of year, and you can see it in our ancient books, our religious texts. They talk about the death of the sun. The sun resurrects after 3 days. So that is speaking about the sun. And that happens, around Christmas and the solstice. And then there is the rebirth. So the preparing, it's sort of like a crone time of year. It's death and renewal. So there is a real balance to renew and restore, and there's opportunity here. This sign also rules the knees and the bones and digestion. And I think there is a cell salt associated with it, which is my favorite, as I am in my mid-50s, and I could feel my bones needed nourishment. And That is calc phos, calcium phosphate. It's a cell salt, a tissue mineral cell salt. And salt just means earth. We are actually salt. And, have you ever heard that expression, salt of the earth? Well, we are minerals. We are, the outer reflects the inner. And this thyme and this salt is for restoring the bones. So I took this salt along with silica, cell salt, together. You can take up to 4 at a time if you need more than one. And it's actually easier because you can just put them in water, shake them up, potentize them in water. The Schlusser, the creator of these salts, that was his whole intention, was to amplify them in water and set, an intention for each time you drink these salts. And I can feel the difference after several weeks. You got to do them kind of over time. But I could feel I was having a weird pain in my knees when I rode my bike, and it's gone. And I could feel my teeth getting stronger, and they were getting kind of loose a little bit. And, the enamel was like kind of, I don't know, wearing. And so I have a lot of Libra, which is associated with acidity in the body. So I really felt like, whoa, this cell salt is super powerful. And I've had clients. I had one who had 2 knee surgeries before 28 and was really needing a boost, and also having trouble with digestion and absorbing, feeling like his body isn't absorbing the minerals, not properly digesting the food, which is also associated with this salt. So calcium phosphate is like the mortar in our bodies. The bones need the most nutrients because it's the oldest and it's supporting the whole structure. So it also affects the ligaments as well. So I find the calc phos to be like one of the most amazing salts in the whole pack of 12 that they've created, that Schlusser created long ago. And there's a whole association with the body and astrology and these salts. So this is part of the work I do, and I'm going to be creating a course. It's going to be coming out in the spring, and it's going to work with your individual chart and balancing your chart, and also talking about, it's going to be called Cosmic Consciousness, this reality in you, understanding this reality in you. So you need to understand yourself and understand some basic things about this reality, the cosmology, the path of the sun and the moon. It's all very interesting, and it's all tied to sacred geometry too. So there is a real reflective thing happening here on this earth plane that is, it's super magical. And when you tune into it, and you tune into the cycles, and you tune into your chart, because it's all very specific to you, how you move through the seasons. So that's going to be, and it's going to be a small group thing. It's going to be, I'll probably have a couple small groups where we work together on Zoom. And there'll be a small fee for each course, and then you could sign up for 6 months or a year, and do a trial. Also, I'm going to have people, if they're interested, to see what's involved. I'll probably do a little introduction and kind of example for people to see. But anyway, that's what I'm cultivating under the surface. And actually, my ancestors have been like wanting me to do it for a long time, and I keep resisting because all the details I don't know. And I'm a Virgo rising, and if I don't know all the details, I'll tend to not do things. And I have to really push myself to do things without knowing all these details. So note that, Virgos, if you have trouble with making and doing new things, making plans, that's part of that. But anyway, back to Capricorn. Capricorn is the wise elder. So it is a crone time of year. There is a lot of wisdom in it. And it's about being practical. So what is going to grow food? What's going to, it's very focused on, and what's interesting is corn. It's focused on, does it grow corn? And that's what I learned in shamanic astrology. They use that reference. And it turns out, corn is part of my culture as well. It's part of the Irish and Scottish tradition. So it's interesting, certain foods and how they were worldwide used. Sorry, I'm like losing my words. Anyways, it's, new moon is really a dark phase, so it's not much energy there. So take some time and relax and sleep and restore yourself. What's interesting about Capricorns that I didn't realize, but there is this association with being in melancholy with the Capricorn. And I thought that was interesting because there is this time of reflection. So it is like, and then it's opposite of Cancer, which is the family and the tribe, and very sentimental and very focused on the past, and loves the association with the past and family. So it is a time for that. And what I can say about the cell salt of calc, phos, is that it will, because these cell salts are so broken down, they're triturated, that's what they call it, into this tiny, form, that's essence. And then when they make them and they spin them with sugar and milk. And there is vegan ones as well. But they spin them, so they're a spun vibrational medicine or mineral. And so it's so small that it can be absorbed into the body. Some of these supplements, multivitamins, things like that, don't necessarily absorb into the body. So you can be taking a multivitamin with calcium in it, but you may not be absorbing it. So that's kind of the difference of using these mineral salts versus supplements. And I find them to be super effective. And, homeopathy was one of the primary ways of healing the body. There was, before, around the turn of the century, there was a lot of hospitals that did both. Doctors were trained in both. And it was like they knew that we are vibration, we are humans, we are energy, and there was a way that like cured like. So that's another part of homeopathy, is this like cures like. So, and this book I used from the, written in the 30s by Carey and Perry, the Zodiac and the cell salts or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. But it is like talking about how the soil is so depleted, and it's talking about stuff. It's also talking about the age of Aquarius. So there's just like these repetitive themes that keep going around and around in the new age. So, And it just reminds me that its history is cyclical and things go around, and the circle is part of that, the circle of these energies and the circle of astrology moving through the signs. And there is a whole a flow that can happen when you put yourself in alignment with these different energies as you move through the seasons. And the knowledge of your chart helps you to understand how to balance out the energies as they hit, different points on your chart. So stay tuned for that. And if you're interested, if you would like a session with me, or you're curious and want to do a discovery session, I offer a free 20-minute session to talk about the work I'm doing, which is clearing disturbances in the body. So say that that one Capricorn client, I was able to clear the nerves and clear the lymph system and clear the digestion, the intestines, and the circulation was a big issue because he had surgeries. Surgeries like actually kind of, they weaken the energetic field in some ways, because you go under. When you're under, you're out of body, and there's opportunities for energies to come in, or because you are in this state. So that's a part of recovering from surgeries, is to restore the energetic field. And he just didn't feel like he had his full energy. And he's a young man. He's only 28. But having also, he had a lot of Virgo, which really is associated with the bowels and the solar plexus. And so that is a thing too. So balancing all those things out and clearing disturbances in his body. And then he was able to take the digestive and the digestive cell salts, which work for the bones, the calc phos, and he was able to restore his health. And that's great because he's in Saturn return and about to get married, and all kinds of things were happening for him. So I was really happy to work with him and change that energy. So check it out. The energy work it's amazing, and it works remotely. So it's just as effective remotely as it is in person. As that we are fractals, right? So any kind of wipe of the skin on a piece of paper actually gives me all the information I need to measure with anatomy charts and where things are disturbed, or a photo. So that's how I do this work. And it comes from the old alchemical way of biogeometry. Ibrahim Karim has taken these tools of alchemy, radiesthesia, how to measure vibration with these special pendulums, and he's created tools to create harmony within disturbances. And it's using shapes, and it uses number, and it uses color. And we all know about sound, but there is also a whole other ways also to create alchemy in the body, in the home, in the environment, on the land. So check it out. It's super interesting. It's subtle energy, so it's just not out there in your face, but it is really effective. So, all right, have a great new moon.